Welcome into Bluegrass Burnouts. A little more of a somber video today. A little late to the party on this on our part, but we both also work. We don't really do this full time. We'd love to, but we just don't. It's not possible. We don't make any money doing this. We do it for fun. But we're talking about something serious today. We're talking about Kyle Busch, his legacy. Unfortunately, at the time of recording this, about 2 days ago, Kyle Busch did pass away. It's actually nice when we record this, we are finding out how he did pass away. It was from severe pneumonia that turned into sepsis. According to reports, they had to call an ambulance for him. He was coughing up blood, and it's extremely sad. He was only 41 years old, leaves behind a wife and two very young kids. And we'll just say this as well. It's very nice that RCR is retiring that number 8 until his son is ready to take it over, and they'll be running the 33 the rest of the year. Cody will let you go on ahead and just take it from there.
Yeah, just to touch on that first, because I think that's not the most important thing, but that was the big question after everything happened was what does this look like going forward? And very happy to say that RCR made the right decision. 1000%, you should not be running the rest of the year. I was talking to my friends. I said, bare minimum, you can't run it this weekend.
No.
And if you are, you run 8 laps and you park it. It just wasn't like with it happening, obviously, so suddenly. Obviously, you didn't have a lot of time to make a decision, but the fact that they were able to get that done and ensure that run the 33 is definitely your best option. But the saving it for Brexton, I think, is genuinely
insane.
Is very heartwarming. I wasn't expecting that. That wasn't even something that I thought about. But when they explain it in the way of, this number was made for Kyle, like we did this for him, having that ability to save that for Brexton whenever he is ready. And, at the end of the day, he may not go into NASCAR, which sounds weird with how his career has developed so early, but at the end of the day, you never know what someone wants to do with their life. And especially at a time like this, you never know. There's so much going on in his life. It's not even right to speculate. We're just praying for them and everything and hoping everything goes, as weird it is to say, as smoothly as possible for them. But RCR definitely made the right decision. It's going to be a very somber week at the track. And we've seen the videos today and yesterday coming out. Obviously, the interviews during, the truck race didn't run yesterday, but everyone was ready to go. So you had a couple interviews there. Buxton for the IndyCar broadcast did a great tribute. Just all of the people talking about how good Kyle was and how good of a person he was. He had a reputation on track for a lot of his years, but when you get down to talking to people, you kind of start to realize how much of a good person he really was. And all the fond memories, I think, were just really heartwarming to see. But it was just, we'll talk about it. It was so sudden.
It was.
Like,
I remember.
it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And for me especially, it was crazy. So for a little bit of backstory, I was at the Spire fan day that morning, and he was supposed to be there. I closed up at work at 12 a.m. Closed at midnight. Went home, didn't go to sleep, and we drove to Charlotte at 2 a.m. To get in line. We got there at 5:45, and we're just waiting in line. Everyone's there hanging out, and around 10:30, I think, is when it broke that he wasn't going to be there. And, no one really thought anything of it. It was just like, oh, that sucks. Hope he feels better. And then you go through the day, you do all the fun stuff, and then literally the minute we get home is when the news broke. And it was insane. Like, this is love or hate Kyle, and we'll talk about this more. Love or hate him, he was a figure, he was a character. He was either someone that you loved or someone that you loved to hate. There was no in between with Kyle.
Not at all.
And no matter what your feelings were, he made you feel at the end of the day. And I think that everyone from a NASCAR standpoint has those feelings. And even from outside NASCAR, you see people talk and you know that you you gain that understanding of how big of a loss that was. And it's just for lack of not even a better word, but at the end of the day, it's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
Genuinely, it's just horrible to find out, and with it happening so fast as well, it was just
It's one of those things, Cody, where you look back at it and you're just like you said, you either love to hate him or you loved him, but you can't deny that he was probably the nicest off-track NASCAR villain ever. I mean, all of the
absolutely.
stuff you would see with him. I love that video of him in traffic where there's that lady that's wearing the M&M's
Yes.
hat, and he kind of waves at her and she doesn't really like see him as the window's tinted and he rolls on the window and starts freaking out. Like, he didn't have to do that at all, but he did. And it just showed you the type of person he was off track. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's
And
nuts.
it also goes back to, everyone that I know that got the opportunity to meet him never said a bad thing.
No, not at
Not
all.
once. And that's why it kind of, it hit me even deeper, is because I was finally going to get to meet him
Yeah.
that day. And then everything happens and you just don't know how to handle that. The emotions were definitely a little rough for the first couple hours. And even going into the next day, seeing all the posts and everything, it brings a tear to the eye. It really does just break the soul, honestly, that someone that nice and someone that generational talent, someone that legendary in the sport that we love, is just no
Just gone.
warning. There wasn't a car, like it wasn't a crash. Like, and I had this conversation with people. I was like, this is without a doubt the worst incident since Dale
Yeah, 100%.
in terms of passing, especially for NASCAR. Like, but with Dale, there was the crash, there was the him getting into the ambulance, there was some kind of warning. This, we just got told, oh, he's in the hospital, he's not going to race this weekend. That could mean anything. Like, going to the hospital for an illness is not the most rare thing ever. And then for it
Especially
to
when you
just
spend a lot of time in like the heat and the like high pressure that these guys
absolutely,
do.
absolutely, the pressure that these guys face on a weekend basis, like week in, week out, it's going to take a toll. So for someone to get sick and, maybe it'd be a little bit worse, because here's the thing. We were talking about his, previous at Watkins Glen. There was the bit where he asked for a doctor after the race. We knew he was sick. They said they was dealing with sinuses, stuff like that. And now that we know that it was pneumonia, it was likely, that pneumonia starting to show. Because
Yeah.
pneumonia, and I'm no professional or anything, but, based on what I do know, pneumonia can show very like basic symptoms. So that was probably that starting to show, and then being in the car for those hours and then continuing to race and simulator and race and simulator and race, taking that toll on his body probably didn't help anything. And that's kind of crazy to look back at now and realize that, the one thing that he does, love doing or was doing was the best at, probably didn't help in what ended up happening. And it's, at the end of the day, it's just tragic. But I just want to share my own personal, like, this was it. And like I said, I was about to meet him. Like, I had taken cards. I almost had my dad ship me my diecast to get signed. And I had already planned this out. I was like, I'm going to go up to him. I'm going to find it. Because I met him, or I've seen him once before at Florence. Him and Brexton were racing, but I didn't get to talk to him. So I'd already thought this out. I'm like, I'm going to go up to him. I'm going to be like, I hated you my entire childhood, because that is a fact. You can ask anyone that knows me. I
Yeah.
despised this man. But like we mentioned, he was the guy that you loved to hate. I was a D1 hater when it came to Kyle Busch.
Your burner Twitter name was
But
Kyle Busch Hater 123 or something like that.
yeah, absolutely. I wasn't Kyle Busch lover. I was Kyle Busch hater. But as I, matured myself and like learned more about the sport and grew with the sport, you realize how legendary of a figure that is, to have the
Oh
ability
yeah.
to play the villain. And it's kind of what we're seeing with Denny Hamlin now, and we've talked about it a lot, is the guy that plays the role of the villain. But at the end of the day, you still respect everything that he does and everything
Yeah,
that he
exactly.
can do on the track. So I don't know. I was finally gonna talk to him, telling him that he won the first race that I was at, 2015 Kentucky, and all these little memories and things that were like really my first introduction into becoming a like NASCAR fan. And then next couple hours, he couldn't make it today, but I'll get him later down the road. And now that opportunity doesn't exist, and it's just to not to say it again, but it's just heartbreaking. And at the end of the day, we're just praying for everybody involved, praying for the family, and we will actually be at the track on Sunday. So
Yeah. You're going to have fun at that. I wish I could go. You're going to have a great time.
I don't know if fun is the right word, but obviously, hopefully rain stays away. We actually get the race in, but I'm excited to, honestly, I hate using the word excited, but this is a moment in history. Like we compared it a little bit to, the events of Dale and like that next race, like what that was like. This has that same vibe of, racing at one of the biggest tracks. And the last one was Rockingham, but still,
Yeah.
racing at a track in North Carolina, and it's gloomy, it's rainy, and it's just silent. Like they showed the clips from the garage this morning of them rolling out the 33 car, and it was just dead quiet. And it's eerily, it's very eerie, and it's strange, and it's going to be a weird experience. But I'm excited to get in there and pay respect and pay tribute to an absolute legend of the sport.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really have a lot of Kyle Busch stories, Cody. I always loved the M&M car. Jeff Gordon was my favorite driver growing up. So I always liked the 24, always cheered for Hendricks, but that M&M car, I loved it. It was insane. I didn't really have, and I've never been the type of guy to hate a driver. I don't hate any of the drivers. It's not my style. But I totally get why people hated him. But giving a story here, this is something I've told before on here. So my buddy, his name's Dean. He is from Chicago. Never really went to a NASCAR race, but kind of watched it. And one of our buddies had the opportunity to take him to the final Bristol dirt race. It was right when he moved to Kentucky, had never been to a race before, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to go?" "Yes, I do." And they went to Bristol, went to the dirt race. Dean dropped like a good probably $150 on Kyle Busch merchandise. Bought the pit shirt, bought a hat, bought a die cast, bought a sweatshirt, like all this Kyle Busch stuff. And Kyle Busch won that race. The first race that he ever got to go to, and the only, besides when we went back to Bristol that fall, the only race he had ever been to. At that point, he watched his driver win, which is absolutely insane to say because
most
how
of us
lucky
never
is
get.
Yeah, it's something that most of us go to a ton of races and never even see our driver win. Technically, I have. I didn't see him win the race, but I saw him finish the race under rain. But it's not the same.
See that? Yeah, it's close enough.
It's close enough. I got to see him win a race, but dude, like you go to all these races and you're like, you never get to see your guy win. And then his first race he goes to, Kyle Busch wins, which was nuts. But that's probably my best story. I really don't have a lot of Kyle Busch like hate memories like that, like you do. But it's like he said, man. I remember, he won that race, a little over a week ago now, and it's like, why do you enjoy it? And he's like, well, because you never know when your last one's going to be. And that's just
a quote that's going to go down in history now.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a
little
quote.
Did he know?
That's a quote that is going to go down in not just sporting history, but just history in general. But especially in motorsports, especially in sports, that is something that's going to go down in history.
Yeah, and I, obviously looking forward. Obviously, we'll see what all they do tribute-wise this weekend, but it's going to be interesting to see what they do the rest of the year. Because obviously, when you have someone in the sports world pass, it's a very big deal, especially when they're a current player or a current athlete. So with this happening, obviously we expect like stickers and stuff on the car, stuff on the infield, and they've already done that for Charlotte. But I'm curious to see how they handle this going forward. Obviously, we can talk about this all day. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever that chance happens.
Oh, 100%.
While I don't expect them to push it to this year, it'll be interesting to see how quickly that all comes about. I would also love to see them maybe do a tribute race, like maybe name a race after him or something like that. All of these possibilities that you could do, we don't know at this point. Obviously, it's very early, but I think that anything that they do is honestly not enough. Like at the end of the day, Kyle had such an impact on the sport. We've already talked about it plenty. Loved him or loved to hate him. Every person who is a NASCAR fan knew who Kyle Busch was, and the dominance. He's the all-time winningest driver.
Yes, 100%.
In all three series. Not separately, but combined. And I believe he does have the records in truck and O'Reilly.
I believe he does. Yeah, trucks. I'm positive he does in trucks.
Truck, he had 69 wins. Just got his 69th.
Good win to win on.
Oh, he was talking about that too, which is crazy. Yeah. And then, God, I don't even know how many O'Reilly wins. I know it was in the hundreds.
It was an insane number. That's what it was.
It was an insane amount. Like, he genuinely a generational talent, someone who had such a big impact on the sport, and at the end of the day, just a great person and a great human being off track. Selfishly, I wish I would have got the chance to meet him that day, but when stuff like this happens, you can't look at it that way. It's just, this is something that has happened. You gotta acknowledge it. You gotta move on with it. And our goal is just to pay tribute to him and carry on in the best way possible. So that's what we're gonna try and do.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's all you can do, unfortunately. It hurts, but you got to move on. Not right away. I mean, if it's going to take some time, especially, for guys like you and me, I would say the mourning period's probably over. A day or two is definitely, I would say, worth it for a guy that you looked up to in that sense. But for his family, for his friends, for his teammates, take the time. You just need to chill out and kind of just pray. Just be outside, do whatever you like to do. But it's hard to kind of put into words stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of wrap up here, this is my final thought on this. Whoever wins the race this weekend, whoever wins at Charlotte, they better do a goddamn bow. Bet you have to. I don't know if you're still talking, but I can't hear you. Okay,
everything is there we go. Yeah, everything is dying on my end here. I was losing you there for a little bit. So we'll go ahead and end this before we fully get disconnected. But thank you guys for watching. We will see you guys next time, and that's all I got. I ain't got nothing else.